Okay, I guess it worked.
Oh, okay. Sounds
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
So what's
So,
the? No, go ahead. Sorry.
okay, great. So thank you so much, Henry, for being a part of this. For viewers, my name is Ayobami Adidini, and I welcome you to the first edition of the Energy and Climate Leadership Series of the Energy Intelligence. This is the first episode, and we are honored to have Henri Nyakarundi, the CEO of ARED. Henry is a Burundian. It's is an expert in the renewable energies field. Henry has lived in the US for quite some time, and I believe Henry is currently based in Burundi. So, over the course of this meeting, Henry is going to be sharing some thoughts on some of the challenges entrepreneurs face in Africa. Especially for the energy sector. He's also going to be sharing some things with us on how he was able to build a successful renewable energy company despite the challenges. Thank you so much, Henry, and welcome for being a part of this.
Thanks for the invite, man, and thanks for the opportunity.
Okay, great. So entrepreneurship it's a very hard field, in particularly for Africa. I like to know what brought you into the sector.
Yeah, I mean, it's about the opportunity. So we in two sector. We in the renewable energy sector, but our prime sector is connectivity. But we combine renewable energy to power technology. But yeah, I mean, I was looking for an opportunity. I've been in business for 20 years. I've done businesses since the age of 20. And in 2008, I was looking to do some business in back home in Africa, and I looked at different sector, and I saw the agribusiness and the renewable energy sector business, and I was like, okay, renewable energy seems like something I was more interested in, and that's how I got started. I did some homework. My background is not even into the engineering or renewable energy. I always like to look at problems. I love solving them, and then I just go for it.
Oh, fantastic. You lived in the US for years. Coming to Africa, what are some of the things you felt that I'm sure maybe you got some culture shock, right? So, what are some of the things that you think when you got here were like sort of a big challenge for you, and how were you able to overcome them?
Well, I went to the States. I was 19, so I grew up in Burundi, but I'm actually from Rwanda, not from Burundi. But my family, my parents were refugees. I don't know if you know a little bit about the history of Rwanda, but my parents were refugee in Burundi. So I grew up till I was 19, and around that time, in between 90 in the 90s, mid 90s, early 90s, mid 90s, there was wars in Rwanda, Burundi, Congo. After I graduated from high school, I went back home. So when I came back, I mean, the culture shock, there was no culture shock because I first of all, I used to come back on vacation from time to time. But business-wise, it was different. I never done business before on the continent, so it was different. It's different than the States. It's much more challenging. There's much more. The ecosystem is much less developed. So yeah, so it's a different ball game. It's a different fight, man. It's a much
Hmm.
more, I would say, it's much more endurance fight than in the U.S. In the U.S., the challenges are different than Africa. I would say.
Okay, so let's go to some of the what I term as probably the biggest challenge for entrepreneurs in Africa, and that is access to funding. How are you able to build ARED, and how are you able to access funding?
Yeah, man. Access to funding is what I talk the most to the young entrepreneur. Listen, we funded ARED. Well, the I started ARED with my own capital. I sold my previous business, so I had a little bit of money saved. But then that money, because we had to develop a hardware. When there's different type of businesses, but when you have a hardware component to your business, it's much more expensive to develop a hardware product than just a software or an app, for multiple reasons. I'm not going to go too much in detail, but I built the first prototype with my own money. The first prototype cost me close to $100,000, and it was a mess. So after that, it was not done properly. Let me put it this way. And after that, so I don't run out from personal money, I start looking for investment. But I realized if you look for investment before you have a minimum valuable product, it's not going to work. Most investors are just not going to talk to you, or if they do talk to you, they're just going to take, majority share of your company. So what I did was I did a lot of competition and grants, and I spent 5 years just applying to competition and grant, and we won total of 10 international competition, and that's what funded the first 5.5, 6 years of the company, the development and a little bit of the expansion that we've done so far.
Fantastic. So when you started Arid, I'm aware you have this solar kiosk. Can you share a bit more about it? Sure.
So the kiosk is a very simple idea. The idea is to build a one-stop shop infrastructure or micro infrastructure for people to come and have access to all digital services they need from one location. That's what the idea is. So if you look at most of the kiosks in Africa today, they're mostly focusing on mobile money or airtime sale. But they don't provide Wi-Fi connectivity, for example. They don't provide what they call offline contents distribution. They don't provide phone charging. So we look at the whole problematic that exists on the continent, and we find 4 key problems. Number one is, of course, connectivity. Yes, you can connect on the internet from your phone, but Wi-Fi hotspot is known to have much more engagement from the user. And because you're connecting multiple people, you can lower the cost of connectivity. But you can also do much more than just connectivity. We develop what we call a mini server platform, where we localize content on this mini server and distribute it via Wi-Fi. Content like video content, educational content, we can do survey, and much more. And then, so connectivity was number one problem. Number two problem is most people that have smartphone on the continent right now have low-end smartphone. So they cannot download multiple apps like, you and I smartphone. They don't have high processing power. The third problem is energy. You can't talk about connectivity without energy. And that's why we build this solar kiosk, because you need power to power the technology, and you need power to provide phone charging, because that's another issue. 30% of the population, less than 30% of the population on average, don't have access to electricity at home. 70% don't. So lack of phone charging was a problem. And finally, digital literacy. So we address all these problems with our technology, and that's what we do.
So are you a pioneer in the industry?
We definitely are a pioneer in the industry. We're the first company to have built edge technology on a solar kiosk platform. So we have an IP. That's why it took us so long on product and development, because we had no reference or no examples to follow. So we made a lot of mistakes, man. But I'm glad we made those mistakes on grants and competition instead of just equity. And we've learned a lot. I always tell people, I'm hearing in the background, but I always tell people, mistake is key, man. Mistake is key. It's actually not a bad thing. It's a good thing. You have to experience mistake to really. Hello?
I can hear you. I can hear you clearly.
Oh, sorry. You have to experience mistake to go further in business. And the more mistakes you go through, the better, prepared you'll be in the long run. Entrepreneurship, most of the time, it's a long term. Even though technology changed a lot, now every 2 years, you may have to change your software, so on, so forth. But building a company is still a long-term business. You have to have long-term vision, and mistakes is part of it.
So I listened to one of the videos you do share on social media recently, and you touched on collaboration. Can you highlight more? Now, as entrepreneurs, every entrepreneur has this competitive mindset, like it's you, me against them, But then you touched on some salient point. I like. Can you give us a recap of that? I know, especially as it concerns partnership.
Yeah, so, as African entrepreneur, we are the underdog. When you look at this global economy happening right now, and you look at all the different players coming in Africa to do business, we are the underdog. We don't have the same access to funding. We don't have the same opportunity for manufacturing locally. We don't have the same opportunity for product development. So we are the underdog. And the only way we can win this battle is by partnering. Because again, don't forget, Africa is a very fragmented market, right? We do business in 4 countries right now, and we go next door to Rwanda, for example, in Uganda. It's a whole nother ecosystem. It's totally different than Rwanda. The dynamic of business is different. The way to do business is different. So you go to all those countries. If you try to do that alone, you're gonna lose. You're gonna lose. There's no way around it. You will lose. You're gonna burn through money, and you're gonna run out of money. The only way you can solve and expand is through partnership. Where coming together, you find somebody who's aligned with your vision. You find somebody who see value in what you're doing, and you focus on one thing, and they focus on the other. In our case, for example, we focus on the technology development, the know-how, the experience we've got, and we always look at partners that can implement the technology on the ground, and we do a revenue sharing structure. So that's the only way we can win this battle. If we don't do that, everybody do their own thing, I don't think we'll make it.
It's quite sad. So now, moving to the climate change narrative, what can you say? Do you think Africa is prepared, to be a leading part, not just a follower? Do you think Africa is prepared to take the bull by the horn when it comes to climate change?
Climate change it's a big topic, right? It touches a lot of things. It's not just renewable. Recycling is also needed. How we destroying the planet, it's crazy. Are we prepared? No, we're not. We're not, because again, and I hate to say that, but that's just a reality, or at least that's my opinion. So I'm going to share my opinion, right? As African, as a macro level, at least our leaders, not all of them, but a big part of it, a big part. We play the begging games, right? And we wait for others to solve the problem and bring the solution on the continent, and that's just not going to work. What I like now, what's going on, is the youth, especially what I call social enterprise. Those are enterprises actually trying to solve this big problem in the water system, in renewable energy. There's so many young men and women developing solutions to solve, or at least be part of the solution to this global warming aspect. And for example, they don't get the same support if you are an entity in Europe or in the States. There is no grant program in Africa, for example. So if you come up with a big idea that can solve a certain problem, where can you get funding, not just investment, but grants, to allow you to try and test your model? It's also a mindset problem. So the short answer, we're not ready, but I'm still optimistic, because I still see young people, man, just going at it. They're hustling, they're bustling, they're getting out there trying to find a solution. But are we going to wake up? It's going to take a new generation of leaders in general across Africa to really understand that the solution is not outside Africa. It's within Africa. And until we understand that, and we're going to have a...
Your line is breaking. Your line is breaking. There was a bit of static.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's better now. It's better.
Oh, sorry. Oh, I thought you could hear me. Well, I was talking about. I don't know if you heard the whole thing, but no, I was talking about the two problems are the mindset and the lack of funding structure to support local social enterprise that are working on solving this global warming problem.
In your opinion, what are some of the strategies you think Africa needs? Hello, can you hear me?
Well, yeah, I heard you. I mean, the strategy, it's a big topic right now, but it's moving. I mean, we have to come together. Well, I'll give you a perfect example, but that's a small example. If you develop a technology today and you want to apply for a patent to protect your technology, right? And you're planning to expand in multiple countries, there is no centralized way to register your patent for all African countries. It does not exist. And the process, it takes so long that most people, less than 2% of all the intellectual property around the world are African. Can you imagine? This is a continental level. That's just one example. So the solution are multiple. We have to look at it on a micro level, right? Leadership. We need leaders that understand, hey, we need to come together. We need to support the youth. We need to support people that are developing technology. We need to give them, for example, tax exemption if you come up with a new technology that can have a big impact. But no, they do those tax exemption to big companies that come in Africa, open shop, they get the exemption because they're too small. They don't look at the long run, the short run. So that's on the macro level. On the micro level, us African, we need to come together. Us entrepreneur, we need to do. Those are platforms that are needed, but we need to go further. If I want to go to Nigeria, for example, I should be able to access a contact that can open some door, explain to me the ecosystem. We need to work together to get to that level. We need to share resources. So this is, I believe, those two ways those are the solutions that needs to be done. Because again, together, we can achieve everything, but separate, it's going to be very difficult.
Okay, so I got some part, but there was a bit of static and all of that. But then I believe it should get better. Yeah. So another thing I'd like to know is that for the SDG 7, that's the access to sustainable, and affordable energy. There are two particular topics that are quite important, which is diversity and youth. Now, how do you think Africa can change its narrative now, focusing on Africa? How do you think youth, young people, young professionals can be attracted into the energy industry, particularly for the renewable energy sector? What do you think can be done to attract them? Then also for the diversity, looking at the gender inclusivity now, what are some of the things you think other leaders should learn from what you've been able to do on your part, to learn from you? What can you share some of these strategies with us?
I mean, the youth to get to the renewable energy sector, I hope you can hear me now. Less than 3%. Less than 3% of companies in the renewable sector are African owned. Less than 3%. And none of them, I repeat, none of them have their own solution. They didn't develop their own solution. They're using third-party solution, right? You cannot develop a continent, or you cannot develop a country if you don't own part of your technology. It's just not possible. China is what it is today because now they're developing their own technology. When China was starting their development and businesses were coming to China to do business, the first thing the Chinese did was what? If you want to do business in China, you have to share your technology. And then they copy the technology. And then they learn. And then they start
developing their technology, and now they dominate the manufacturing and even technology development in AI and so on and so forth. You know, we talk about 5G today. The Chinese are leaders in the 5G. So we cannot talk about development if Africans don't own at least part of the technology development. Not all, because nobody can own everything, but at least part of it. That's the first thing. The second thing is for the youth to get in. I mean, that's a personal choice, but it's very expensive to get. It's very expensive to get into the renewable energy sector. It's a very long-term investment, right? And most of the youth that I know of, they want money real fast. So it requires someone, not just youth, but it requires someone that not only have a long-term vision, but are more focused about helping others than making money, right? But again, the ecosystem, if you look at most of the funding that goes into the renewable energy sector today, there's a lot of money. Only 3 to 4 companies get the majority of this money. So there's also a disconnect of how allocating funding, you know, to the different players in Africa. And unfortunately, because those funding are not African owned, they're not going to give to African. Well, at least they're not going to necessarily be interested in giving to African. They're going to promote their own businesses. You know, if a country like the US has funding for renewable energy project, that money is most of the time taxpayer money. So they don't want to necessarily promote an African company to get that money because that's not their goal. Their goal is to expand on their business, to have an impact for their business in the US. So again, until we find our own money to solve our own problem, all we're going to be doing is just, you know, we're going to be spectators and somebody else is going to benefit from all this opportunity across Africa. You're on mute.
Okay, so you mentioned a point, and which I'd like you to expand upon. You said, paraphrasing now, you said youths are quite impatient, which you are very quite right about. And then you also mentioned something about caring about the impact than the funding. Are you suggesting a social enterprise that if let's say I want to go into the renewable energy space now, are you suggesting I go in as a social enterprise?
Absolutely. You getting in. It depends who your customer is. If you're really trying to bring energy to low-income people that don't have access to energy, then yes. If you're trying to bring energy to the middle class, upper class, to improve or to help them get away from diesel engine, for example, and the more renewable energy, then no, you don't, because you know you're going to recover your investment much, much quicker. So it depends who you're targeting. And based on the customer base you're targeting, then that's the model you deliver. But social enterprise is very important.
Hello, everyone. So I think Henry is trying to join us again. Henry is trying to join us again. So while we wait for him,
Hello, can you hear me?
yeah, we can hear you. Welcome back, Henry.
I can't hear you. You're not going to believe, man. Yeah, just out. So it's raining really bad. Actually working on a project to install solar panels.
Your line is breaking. Your line is breaking.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Connections. Can you hear now?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Let me try to see. Can you hear me better? Because I cannot hear you.
I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay. Well, I cut off the video just to see if it worked better.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so apology, and I should have checked the weather channel. So I don't remember where we were. A question.
Yeah. So you were talking about African owning part of the technology. You mentioned the fact that no nation can grow without having a part or no being a major partner when it comes to the technology usage. And you also mentioned the case of China.
Oh yeah, I mean exactly. I mean I want to emphasize that if you're a young man or woman and you're fighting, you need support from your government. It's very difficult to solve this battle, this renewable energy battle by yourself. And government needs to be more engaged. Now, some countries are more engaged than others. And I don't want to generalize, but in general, most countries do not support local entities as much. And they allow foreign entity to do business much easier than locals. And that becomes very complex and very difficult.
So, Henry, before we let you go, I'd like you to touch on the case of gender inclusivity as regards women. What are your thoughts on this?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
I was talking about diversity, right? So, I mean, what are your thoughts on the inclusion of women in the energy industry?
Well, that's another. Well, I know only one woman, for example, that in renewable energy sector is actually, but I'm sure there's more. I mean, diversity is important in every sector, not just renewable energy. But since this is a renewable energy conversation, yeah, there is lack of diversity in the level, and I think it's also could be awareness. I see a lot of social enterprise that are run by women. So I'm very encouraged by the youth, young women getting into the social enterprise. And it's not necessarily maybe in renewable energy, but I know a few in the water business, in agribusiness. So how to solve that, I'm not sure. I think awareness. I think a lot of time, young women maybe, they need to see their peers that are women doing something to be inspired to do it also. So there need to be more women in that space to inspire the next generation for sure.
Hmm. Okay, so speaking of that, we have another series which we tagged the Amazons in energy, because they are the energy intelligence. What we try to champion, we also try to champion gender inclusivity. So we have this series coming up on Friday, where we are going to be bringing women, established women in the energy sector. We're going to be sharing strategies to inspire other women, into the energy and climate change leadership. So I get what you're saying, and on our part too, that's what we're also trying to promote. Promote sustainable practices across all sectors. So coming back to Hared now, and this will be my final question. What should we expect from you in the next 3 years?
Just to go a little back on the women's side, I mean, also, do want to emphasize also, uh, there's less, I mean, African African men have a hard time raising money. It's even harder for women. And again, until we solve that problem, then we'll see definitely more women tackling a bigger problem like renewable energy. Because you cannot solve a problem just by will. You need capital. But to answer your last question, for air rate, so we expanding right now. We'll be Nigeria and Senegal this year. We have we focusing on working with telecom companies. Some of our clients, most of our clients right now in NGOs. So we on our expansion plan. We will be raising our A round in a few months also, and doing fundraising not in Africa, fortunately, but in the U.S. because of the problematic of accessing funding. But yes, we're expanding across Africa. Our target in the next 5 years would be in 10 countries. That way we operate with our technology.
Hmm. So looking at that now, what aspect? Because I understand that your company is not just a renewable energy company. You also have to do with connectivity. So are we expecting more of renewable energy, new renewable energy technologies from you within the next 5 years?
As far as new technology, no. I mean, what we do is we always improve the technology we have now. We're not planning to add different product line and all those things, because unless it's something that it's not in the market, I like to be, if I'm developing something, I have to be the first one. If I'm going to develop a product that already exists in the market, it doesn't make sense. I prefer partnering or working with a company and implementing their solution. But no, we always improve our technology. The kiosk we have today is our third generation kiosk. And we posted, you can see on our YouTube channel the different generations of the kiosk. We have the first one, second one, and now the third one, and you can see the improvement and the knowledge we have. But a new product plus new product is, from the time you develop a new product, by the time you talk it takes between 5 to 10 years on average. That's a long time, man. I think I'm good with the product I have now.
Okay, so finally, we on a monthly basis we host a particular program we call the Energy Leaders Dialogue. For this year, we've not hosted any for some reasons. So we plan to have one soon, and we would like you to be on one of the panels speaking on renewable energy. So we are using this as a form of invitation for you, and we hope you'll be able to honor our invitation.
Yeah, sure. I mean, let me know the date. Make sure that I have anything around that date. But yeah, no problem. And me, I love sharing information. There needs to be an emphasis. We need to emphasize more on the funding side. A lot of time, young people, they're only looking at investment as funding. They don't realize how many grants there is out there. They don't realize how many companies. And people look at, there's grants in Europe, I cannot apply. Yes, you can apply to that. You just have to find a European partner to apply with. So there's a lot of strategy people need to utilize to access funding.
Thank you so much, Henry. Once again, Henry is the CEO of. Oh, we have a question. Can you, Henry, before you go, can you please answer this question from one of the viewers? I'm sure you can see it on your screen, right? Can you?
No, hold on.
Okay,
I'm
Molly
on my
Orinda is
phone right.
asking. She said, as someone with a lot of experience with grants, what advice do you have for anyone applying for grants for an early stage, for an ideal stage project, without the risk of losing everything to the venture capitalist? Did you get that?
Oh, it's a different strategy. The idea. Can you hear me?
Did you get that?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Okay, yes, I can hear you.
Yes. Grant is a different strategy, right? You always, when you apply for a grant, there's three things you need to look at. One, even if your product is not innovative, that's something unique that separates you from your competitors that you can emphasize on your application. Number two, you need people that receive that grant so it can give you some insight, or even if you have a little bit of money, you need to work with consultants or people that have applied for that grant and has been successful. Grant, like anything else, is about connection and access, because a lot of the grant there's hundreds of thousands of applications, and you don't grant, but anything above $500,000 plus, you need to have an insight of what you're really looking at, because every grant organizations, they always look at specific things, and if you don't know that, you might apply and mention certain things that are interesting. So you need to have this. And other things, you need to be consistent. Meaning, if you don't get it the first year, try and keep trying. There's one grant we got from the Netherlands. We tried for 4 years. On the 5th year, we got it. So you have to keep pushing and applying and all those things. So those are 3 areas. But it's free money. It's free money. You know, of course, you have to answer to the people that are giving you money. They need reporting, so on and so forth. But yeah, always, and grants is one thing. Competition also. There's a lot of competition in the renewable energy space.
Hello, Henry.
Yeah.
Hello. Yeah, I lost you for about 10 seconds.
Yes. No, I'm saying those are the 3 things that I mentioned. Yeah, connection forward.
I think we have a lot of network issues today, and for subsequent episodes, we hope to have been able to fix some of these issues. So, Henry, we want to thank you once again for being a part of this, and for the Energy Leaders Dialogue. It's a platform where we bring policy experts from across Africa to discuss on provide solutions to a sustainable energy future for Africans. Right. So thank you so much for accepting that, and thank you so much for being a part of us. Thank you so much, Henry.
All right.
All right. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Hi, viewers. Thank you so much for being a part of this. Once again, my name is Aibami Adidini, and I'm the founder of the Energy Intelligence. We are a media consultancy that provides senior decision makers access to in-depth analysis and commentary on the energy industry. We have another series coming up on Friday, which we we call the Amazons in Energy. It's a program specifically targeted for women in the energy industry. The program starts by 12, and we hope to have you with us by then. Thank you so much, and please enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye.